I always love doing the hula during that intro. Yeah, there you go. All right. And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's Lakers Spotlight, everyone. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for joining us. It is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. I also host the Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Melinda and I had a great show that you guys, if you're members, have already seen because I gave you the video first of what Melinda and I talked about, including Wicked, Gladiator 2, and Can the Clouds Save the Day for consoles? So go ahead and check it out today. If you're a member on YouTube, it'll be later today for everyone else, but also as well, it's on audio podcast outlets everywhere you get them. There's also as well Inside Sports Fantasy Football if you need your late picks for NFL Week 12 or help with your fantasy football team. Chris Sardieri from the Domination Sports Nation and Joe Soro were on with me talking about that, plus also as well his Steelers. We go ahead and talk about, although that was before the loss by the Steelers, but go ahead and talk about with us at Inside Sports Fantasy Football, wherever you get your podcasts. Lifted said, I'm here for the Gerald versus the Laker Tom fights. I don't feel like fighting today. He just calls me an idiot. I don't try to, I always started, okay, the latest ones now where he fights me is where I start off saying, respectfully, Tom, blah, 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 blah. And then by the end, he calls me an idiot. So I don't look for confrontation, unlike with Joe, where I just know I need to say a couple things and he goes off on the handle. But, it is what it is, of course, right here at the Lakers Fast Break. I do want to give a shout out, though, to everyone else. That's a great part of what we're doing. If you want to see Stone Hansen at report_court, we had our new show, Lunch with Stone Hansen, debut yesterday, where we talked the Lakers. So go ahead and check out what he has to say on our YouTube channel as well, or at report_court on Twitter. Plus also as well, of course, our good stuff that's going on with Lakers in 5, Empire Jeff TV, John McCallion channel, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, but also as well, of course, the stuff that we do with the legend, Alfred Esmond, and all the great things that we do, and Joe Soro. Don't forget his game, Corrupt, coming out next week on Steam, right there on Wednesday. Plus also as well, of course, the Lakerholics crew. That's why they're here. They're here to talk to me, but they're here to talk to you, but they're also here to go ahead and plug their great site. So listen to Michael Heinrich get a headache. You can actually see the headache that Michael Heinrich gets while trying to mediate between Laker Tom and Jamie Sweet each and every day right there at Lakerholics.com. You think Joe and I are good 5 days a week? Go ahead and check out Laker Tom and Jamie Sweet yell at each other. I think Jamie just pushes his buttons just because right there at Lakerholics.com. Well, the Lakers head in for tonight's game against the Denver Nuggets, so we'll go ahead and preview a little bit of that as well. It is, of course, the Lakers and the Nuggets coming up later tonight. The Nuggets did just play last night, so they'll be doing the road trip of doom where you have to go back-to-back from Denver to LA or LA to Denver. That's always the not fun trip because that's one of the farthest trips that's out there as far as for back-to-backs. So the Nuggets will come in tired, back-to-back, facing off against the Lakers. Sorry, Joe, Nikola Jokic is back in the lineup, and he'll be back in the lineup tonight for the Lakers as well. But first, I want to go ahead and talk about the Lakers lineup because Rui Hachimura is also expected back tonight. And JJ's comments during the week about Rui's return were kind of disconcerting because for however great Tom and myself and Joe have talked about how good a job JJ has done, it's sometimes those little things that irk me, like when Quincy Olivari is starring in the G League and he said, oh, I don't really have any plans to put him in the lineup a couple weeks ago. That kind of irked me. And then also this week,
that irked me too.
Yes, I mean it's because we say all the good things that JJ does, but hold on, Tom. Just a little add on to it. This week, he said, "Yeah, Rui's coming back, but I think Dalton's going to have to go ahead and be the one that sits down because of it, and we'll just find more minutes for him. The coaching staff will find 4 minutes for him." I'm paraphrasing, but it is something like that, where the coaching staff now has to find more minutes. So I asked you guys, I ask you guys today, first off, should Dalton Knecht, after his really hot 5 games, where he is the second rookie behind Jared McCain, he is averaging unreal. He's got 7 straight 20-point games, but right after that, it is, of course, Dalton Knecht. It's McCain, Knecht, and then there's this huge chasm where there's no other rookies that are competing right now for Rookie of the Year. So, guys, I ask you this. Should Dalton Knecht go back to the bench? I'm going to start today. First man up, first man here. Was it Laker Tom or Michael Heidner? Michael, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
All right. First man up, first man here is a good man indeed. It is, of course, our Hawaiian analyst expertise. It is, of course, Michael Heinrich. Aloha, my friend. I hope you all as well. I know it's early for you. Always appreciate you coming here. Your thoughts on Dalton Knecht going back to the bench? I hate it, personally.
Well, I don't. And last night we saw kind of a demonstration of why we got creamed by size. I mean, we had Dalton guarding Isaac. He's 6'11". We had, I like Rui in the starting lineup, and I like the idea that we can take LeBron out earlier, give LeBron a little bit more rest without sacrificing a lot of offense. Dalton comes in, LeBron goes out, and then LeBron goes back in, Rui goes out, keeping Dalton on the court the whole time. I don't care. Yeah, as far they say, it's not a matter of who starts, really. I mean, he's going to get 30 minutes a game from this point on, I believe, at least. It's just, I think, one of the strengths of this team early on was the front court size. We have one of the taller front court size, bigger guys, right, across our front line. And JJ talked about that a lot, about what an advantage that is for us. So no to Dalton starting, yes to getting much more minutes. If he gets 30 minutes a game, 30 plus minutes a game, think back to Lamar Odom. Didn't start 30 plus minutes a game. He was basically, a starter for the most part. He just didn't start the games off starting. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. You get good spacing with Rui too. He's shooting 50% from three. And so you're not, and you got a little bit more size, a little bit more bulk. So that was my take last night. I mean, the missed free throws was the headline, but they had 2 6'10" guys and 6'11" guys on the floor together a lot. And they just crushed us on the boards. And so I like Rui starting, LeBron taking an earlier seat, giving him more rest. And Dalton can play through 2 shifts, So that's my take.
Also here today is a good man indeed. It is, of course, the mastermind behind Lakerholics.com, along with Michael Heinrich and also Admiral Akbar himself, Jamie Sweet, and his 5 things. Of course, it is Laker Tom, the most prolific one. Are you still the most prolific? I don't know. I haven't checked up on that lately. At one time,
I haven't been as prolific as I used to be.
Okay, so you were once the most prolific Lakers writer that's out there. It is Laker Tom, and Laker Tom, again, before there's also already a trade proposal that has been brought to your attention. I will go ahead and touch on in a minute. So I didn't forget that, guys, and I do see you in the chat. And by the way, his craziest trades, I think, were in the Miles Turner "I'm in love with him" era. I think that was
hey, it's time to resurrect Miles Turner.
he was had a whole year of darts he was throwing there.
Yeah.
There was some doozy.
I've been studying the Indiana Pacers cap situation.
Yeah, I know you have. I know you have. Yep.
Yeah.
And he is.
It would help. It would help, Tom, though, if they didn't have their second and third string centers.
Yeah, if they weren't hurt.
Yes, yeah,
but he is coming up for he's coming up for what should be a good raise.
Yes and no. He's been kind of off and on, this year. But again, it's not been his finest year, but he's still solid.
Oh man, I still regret that we never traded for Buddy and Miles.
Yep, I know you have. I know you do. And
that was. Sometimes you just see situations where and everything that's happened since then just shows that those two guys in the right situation can be lethal players, Yeah. But at any rate,
let's get back to
when you were telling which things you didn't like about JJ or which you might have done differently, which wasn't, and I felt pretty much the same thing about both of those things, but I understand why it makes sense for JJ not to pull the rug out from Rui.
Well, he does the old veteran thing. It's the old veteran thing where you got to keep.
Well, it's not only that. It's you have to treat, as a coach, you have to treat every player differently, and you have to understand what drives some players and what can inhibit some players from reaching their potential. And Rui's a little fragile when it comes to the mental state, and I think you want to give him a chance to. First off, I don't think it matters who's going to start, really. I think just like Michael said, that'll work itself out, and eventually Knecht will be starting. I think that's pretty inevitable. Probably after Rui gets traded, he and D'Lo are the logical people for the Lakers to trade. And so I think that and JJ doesn't want to become known as a guy who, he started off by naming his starting lineup right when he became coach. He didn't mess around with saying, oh, we're going to have competition for this and that and all of that type of stuff. And yet he was, in the 9 games in, he made a change just like Ham did in 9 games in, because he needed to do something to get us out of that 1-4 tailspin and get some more defense into the starting lineup. What's interesting about that more defense in the starting lineup is that Cam still is one of the worst plus minus players on the starters, and the whole thing has really worked well because D'Lo's exploded and played well except for the last game off the bench.
I don't see it as well. I mean, he's been a mixed bag coming off the bench.
Well, considering what we had before coming off the bench,
then when the bag has been empty,
and then when you consider that you robbed the bench because of injuries and you pulled Dalton into the starters, I see my feeling. I understand why JJ's doing that as a coach, because you want to build your players, and he knows it's not going to matter, and he knows that eventually whoever is going to work out in that situation is going to become the starter. And the Lakers definitely need improvement in the starting lineup, but what they really need is defensive improvement in the starting lineup, almost more than they need offensive improvement. Reddish provides a little defense there, and we are sacrificing some offense with him. We're sacrificing some points with him. Ironically,
can I interrupt just for a second? Can I interrupt you on Cam? I was thinking about this. Guys shooting 63% from 3, 64% from the field. Give the guy a couple more shots and see.
Yeah, really. I mean, he shoots like the first or second play in the game, and then he never takes another shot.
Well, they don't give him the ball.
Yeah. Well, look at who he's playing with. That's the problem,
Yeah.
But it's also, I think it's a confidence issue. You see him; he is not a very confident player. Right. His shot is shaky from the outside, and you see him. It's like an adventure whenever he takes the ball inside. Right. So
we all, but getting back to the subject we were talking about, Michael's right. I think that I would probably felt that I've been screaming for size has been our big problem. We need a second center starting with AD. Mm-hmm. And Rui is the closest thing that we have to that at this point in time, that can go up there and still be able to score offensively and so forth. And we're playing the team that we're playing the team that we were supposedly trying to build to beat, even though that probably what we should be building today is somebody to beat the Celtics, because they're the team that's going to be in our way. It's not going to be.
Well, what you were asking about, and I got two questions coming up.
Now, OKC, if we get some second size that we're talking about, we can handle OKC. It still is the Celtics who have 5 3-point shooters and 5 good defenders on the court. That's like a dream combination.
I've got two questions coming up for you from our chat, but before I do, you mentioned Cam Reddish, guys, about not getting touches. When he was coming off the bench, remember, Dalton Knecht was not getting touches. He was not getting in a rhythm. And Tom, especially as a shooter, you need touches, you need rhythm in a system. Him going and being a starter has been the best thing for him because it gets him into the flow of the game. It gets him to where he feels.
It also gets us off to a good start, which we haven't been doing in the past.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%.
And you always talked about more threes. I'm not talking about 40 or 50 threes like Jamie was joking with me the other day on our show.
43s would be good for us.
But even if you increase it with 3 or 4 more a game with Dalton out there, I just think it's more beneficial for the team. It opens things up. I'm a big proponent of Dalton Knecht. Again, I've been on it from day one. I saw him personally live. I don't want to go into the whole thing, but I just, like I said, Dalton Knecht being in the starting lineup, I think is more of a positive than it is a negative.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be long before it happens either.
Well, let's hope that's the case. If JJ is as smart as you say he is.
But there is something to what you're saying about, and it's a factor with Rui just as well as it was with Dalton, that there are some guys who play better as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really rare to have a guy who can actually come in off of the bench. One of the interesting things is D'Lo off of the bench. I'm sure that D'Angelo is not ready to say that he's not a starting point guard in the NBA any longer. But you wonder at some point in time in a guy's career, and how old is he now? He's 30. Is he 32?
He's 30. D'Lo is 30.
He's 30. At some point in your time in your career, it maybe isn't that your ego is running things, but you want to be a winner. And you'd like some stability, I don't know. I'm one of those people that think that anything's possible with Rob Pelinka, that he might not do any move just to save the goddamn picks.
And also get the money because D'Lo isn't expiring. JHS is expiring. So that's $22 million coming off your books.
That cleans up a lot of issues.
And I know one of the questions. Well, hold on. I know one of the questions in the chat was, well, why can't we just go get a guy like Markelle Fultz off the street or this person off the street?
Because he's not D'Angelo Russell. But he can't shoot like he does. He can't make like he does.
They're talking about for Gabe Vincent, but you can't get anyone right now because you are so close to that second tax apron, and it's clear.
And he's trying to make a trade. He's trying to make a trade without giving up one of the firsts.
But he's also
the problem is that nobody wants the guys that we're trying to trade. You need to have draft capital to get them to move.
I think the bigger problem right now is the few teams that are willing to trade people are asking a king's ransom for those people. Those prices will start to drop eventually, but right now it's so early, and there's so few teams that are considering moving anybody that it's going to be a while before, there's guys out there that they want 2 first rounds for that aren't even worth 1. So
that's why we're going to end up with Valanciunas.
Well, again, there's also the fact that, we can't just pick up anybody and waive somebody because we're so close to the tax apron. There is obviously an edict that's been laid down by Jeannie. Do not get over the second tax apron. Yeah. And we're $30,000 away from it. So there's no moves we can make. We can't just go ahead and waive.
And you're not going to make any moves unless you're willing to give up some draft capital.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all tied together.
So I've got this. Speaking of which, there was a question in the chat earlier in the chat. Wanted to go ahead and say, Gerald, please ask Laker Tom what a package of Dalton, Reeves, and 2 firsts can get.
Dalton, Reeves, and 2 firsts?
Yes. What can that get us?
Well, for getting matching salaries and so forth.
Two white guys
that should be enough to get you anybody that you possibly could get that would even come to the Lakers. I mean, I don't think, first off, the Lakers are going to. I mean, I've been talking all during the session about how the fact that I'm really frustrated because I don't think that Pelinka is willing to take the risk of going all in for this championship, despite all of the signs that we've got a healthy LeBron and a healthy AD, and we got Dalton Knecht and we got Reeves. I don't think that he's going to trade any of them because he's playing some sort of a long game all of a sudden, that he's got JJ Redick as a head coach who is going to be on the right path. And so he's not going to do any patient, crazy moves because he knows he's got to make a transition from LeBron James. And we haven't seen how this team can win without LeBron James yet. And God knows whether they can without him. So he's going to hold off and not use those picks at all is what my prediction is. He'll get Jonas for a bunch of seconds and make a couple of deals and so forth. And that's going to be LeBron's legacy in the line as far as I'm concerned. I'd go out and get Robert Williams tomorrow rather than waiting until December 15th to get a guy who never shot 30%, never blocked one shot, never got over a half a steal in a game. And he's a slow guy who is basically more offense than defense. It's not what we need. You have to take a gamble. So does a guy who's got a risk of injuries. We have two stars now that we have a championship because we gambled on the fact that they're injury prone.
Michael, let me ask you this. I'll start this off. This has been a question that has been thrown.
I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't make that trade. That's the other side of it. I would keep the two players we got, but I would trade the two picks.
Deep Purple is asking this, and this is a question that is in our chat or a comment that's every single day for the past week. Michael, and I'll start off with you, my friend. Should Olivari, who again, man, just such a discouraging thing. It's again, Tom, I don't mean to disparage JJ in any ways, but it's those little comments that he makes sometimes that kind of irk me. Not in a way that Darvin Ham irked me, because that was just, that was sometimes a shot at the fans themselves. But him saying that he wasn't thinking too much about Quincy Olivari and how successful he was doing at the G League kind of bothered me. He was suited up the other day for a game, but that was only because Bronny was out with the left heel contusion. So, Michael, I ask you, with the ineptitude of scoring from the bench being a constant factor this season, and Gabe Vincent averaging a whopping 2.8, 2.9 points per game, boy, wow, that $10 million is really worth it right there. And getting 4 donuts on the season? Somebody told me
$20 million because he didn't play last year, but we had to pay him $10 million.
Yeah, exactly. So we got 10 more million to go with him. Your thoughts? Should Quincy get some time in there ahead of Gabe Vincent?
Well, I don't know. I like Quincy from what I've seen, but I am not the coaching staff seeing what they see. And here is a cautionary tale. While playing last year, when healthy, Hood Chapina was the best point guard in the G League. He was tearing it apart, 20-some points a game, hitting his shots, defense all over the place. So because a guy is tearing it up in the G League doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate. Now, with Quincy, he's an older guy, so he's got a lot more experience than some of those guys. So maybe he can walk in and he can. I would bring him up and let him see. I mean, we won't see it, but I'd rather see him get minutes over Bronny. I'd rather see him get minutes over.
Bronny shouldn't be even starting in the G League. He's averaging 4 points a game in the G League.
Yeah. I mean, bring him up, give him some minutes, and but there's the other thing you think about too, and we're kind of burning those minutes with Hayes in, for Koloko. We're burning his games up right now. They only get 50 games, and we haven't had any backcourt injuries yet. So, to answer your question, I want to see him get more minutes. I just am always cautious about what a guy looks like in the G League as opposed to what they look once they get up to the big club, because there's been some superstars in the G League that never made it in the big club. So
Sam, the Lonnie Walker deal, he's already signed in Europe. You would have to go ahead and probably do a buyout thing with them, with whatever club he is with Europe. And then also as well, I think that might count. Part of that would count against the cap. Again, the Lakers are so close. They can't just waive somebody. They can't just let somebody go, guys. They are so close to that second tax apron, which are huge ramifications.
It ties your hands in so many ways.
Yeah, and so there's no way that they are doing that unless they trade one of those.
They need a 4-for-2 trade. They need a 4-for-2 trade because they need to give Koloko and Olivari standard contracts.
Believe me, guys, I want.
Otherwise, they're going to become the next,
who has the roster space? What team has the roster space to take on 4 new players? We need a couple more players. Nobody has that kind of roster space to take on 4 guys to giving out 2. Giving out 1 or 2.
No, it's just the 2-for-1 trades.
So with that, I asked the same question. Again, it was a very good question put in there. It is something that is mentioned every day on our show, Tom. It is regarding Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent, it's been a source of aggravation for a lot of people in this chat.
If you look at the defensive ratings for the Los Angeles Lakers, the best guard is Gabe Vincent, and he's been playing excellent defense, and that's the reason he's in the game. That's the reason he's not. That's the reason Olivari's not going to get his minutes at this point.
But man, there's 14 to 20.
But his offensive performance has also made him. He's replaced D'Lo as the primary trade guy you're putting out. If you're doing one of those trades that doesn't take $20 million, then but more and more any trades that the Lakers are looking at are smaller and smaller and smaller in my mind.
D'Lo's got an expiring with Gabe, as you know. There's still 10 more million of paying to go with Gabe Vincent.
Right. So
that's
Gabe is the top trade prospect right now.
You're going to have to attach more to him, though, because it's not an expiring time.
We don't have anybody that we can trade that we want to trade. The guy, we're not going to trade Reeves. We're not going to trade Knecht. That's those just things. We're not going to trade LeBron or AD, so that's not going to happen. Those 4 guys are going to stay around because they're the core of the team going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, we don't have anybody else who has trade value other than to swap for another guy who doesn't have trade value. So we have to attach draft capital to him. Maybe seconds will get something happen for a small-time deal because Gabe's only a $10 million guy. I mean, I would love to trade him and JHS for Robert Williams III. That would be a fabulous trade. I'd be happy then. Just get healthy, just get a healthy Vanderbilt, and I would.
And maybe later on in the season, that might become available, at a reasonable price. I really waver on Williams because he just has never been able to stay on the court. And some guys,
he's been so good when he's on the court, man.
Yeah, but some guys,
him and AD together.
There's been so many careers in the NBA ended because their bodies just could not hold up, and that's what I fear with him is that, earlier in the year, you say that you would trade anything to get Lonzo back, right? Played 3 games and he's out again.
Well, Lonzo's a different situation. Lonzo, you'd have to have your doctors look at him because he had an operation nobody's ever had before. So God knows what's going to happen with him.
In the NBA, defensive rating, because I know Endorphin had the question. Defensive rating is calculated by dividing the number of points scored by opponents by the number of possessions that they had. So the formula is defensive rating equals points allowed divided by total possessions times 100. A lower number indicates a better defensive rating. So per the 100 possessions that you guys are talking about, it is, of course, you're saying that from the backcourt position, Gabe is it. But again, Gabe is just such a minus out there offensively.
Well, he has like 000 games, man. He's like
he's had 4 4 donut games. And it's not like in 2 or 4 minutes, Tom. We're talking 14, 15, 20-minute games, 22-minute games.
Trip zero games to go with trip doubles.
And that, the Lakers, Michael, have become a team that seemingly, with their defensive inefficiencies and also their transition defense is absolutely horrible. And anybody who wants to fight me on that, it's just got to look at and see it.
That's because we're slow and unathletic.
Yeah, there you go. So it looks like we're just outscoring teams at this point in time for the most part. And again, I'm feeding into that. So that's why I want Dalton to stay in the lineup, because personally, making sure he is constantly fed in that offense is more important to me than maybe 1 or 2 possessions right now that you have a Gabe Vincent out there.
I agree 100%, Gerald, but here's the big problem that presents itself. What is Dalton Knecht's position?
Shooting guard, small forward, depending on the lineup.
What's he going to start at? What's he going to start as?
Well, I would put him ahead of Cam Reddish personally. So
shooting guard has to be, because he's not big enough to play small forward. You put him at small forward, and it's that same thing where we're watching the 6'9", 6'10", small forwards shoot over our 6'5", 6'6".
And Rui is not exactly the best at guarding threes himself.
You need another big man like Williams, which means that there is nothing left for Knecht other than to play guard.
Well, if you want Williams in there, I'm not going to argue with that if he's healthy. That's the problem. But Michael, let me get your thoughts on
I take Walker Kessler. It's the same situation. It's just a great defensive player.
Feeding into the offense seemingly during the course of the season is something I think a lot of teams, it's not just the Lakers. I see a lot of teams right now feeding into their offense as opposed to prioritizing defense at this time.
More offensive players than there are defensive.
Well, here's another thing with Knecht as well that I noticed last night. Last night was the first night that I saw teams had schemed for him.
Schemed for him, right?
And it made his life very difficult.
Still scored 17.
He still scored 17, and he was 2 for 5 from 3. But the thing about it is that if he's coming off the bench and playing a lot of minutes against
scrubs,
second-rate defenders, he's going to get free for a lot more points.
But the thing is, we did this before, Michael, and he got 10 to 15 minutes, and he just wasn't getting the ball continuous. And those shooters, they need regular touches.
But this is all about spacing. This is all about spacing, because what he does if you start him, and this is a big reason to start him, and the big reason is that he gives LeBron and AD spacing, which he does. They're scheming for him now. When is the last time you heard anybody say that they were game planning for the Lakers 3-point shooters surrounding LeBron and AD? Nobody game plans for those guys. Now they all of a sudden game plan for Knecht because they realize that he's the kind of shooter who can hit 9 threes. That's a big difference, and makes a huge difference in the defense that LeBron and AD face as starters. And that's why he'll eventually, and it won't take long, he will be the starter because of the spacing that he provides.
The only thing, though, with that lineup, again, is Vando, who's out another couple weeks before he's reevaluated. And this seems to be continuously going on. What a disappointment for us guys. Michael, your thoughts on the continual Jared Vanderbilt issues that the Lakers have been experiencing before we get to our super chat right there from Arthur.
Well, the good news, bad news is that he hasn't had any setbacks. It's just that the ramp-up period is taking longer than they had hoped. But he hasn't had any setbacks, so he's not worse. He didn't re-injure anything, none of that kind of stuff. It's just that he's not rounded into shape as fast as they would have liked to. So, I was watching the Sportsnet the other day, and they expect him probably to be able to play within about 2 weeks.
Well, I thought that was reevaluated in 2 weeks.
No. They said on Sportsnet, they said he could be probably ready to play in about 2 weeks. So now it's Wood that will be reevaluated later on in December.
Okay.
Because he had a setback. So that's been the most disappointing part of this year so far for me, is that we haven't stretching back to last year, still haven't seen what our team looks like yet. It's so frustrating.
There are franchises that have never won a championship that have had multiple years like that.
Now, last night, for instance, would have been a good example. If we would have had Bando, I can guarantee you that Watt Wagner would not have had the same success because Bando's 6'9", 6'10" also, and he can stay in front of anybody. He can stay in front of tiny point guards.
Well, Anthony Davis gave up too quickly. If you're a defensive player of the year candidate, you do not let a switch to Reddish in that situation.
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about that last shot. I'm talking about throughout the game. Yeah.
You still have to hit your free throws as well. So
yeah, well, that was
95 out of 100 times that game played again, we would have won.
Yeah, I mean, it was one out of 7 down the stretch.
Win tonight to take that bad taste out of our mouth.
And the weird thing about it was that Austin missed 2 and AD missed 3, and they're our 2 best free throw shooters. And that just never happens. But that's another thing that was so frustrating about that game is that doesn't happen ever.
And you can see it happening, though. You can see it happening when it was happening. I'm sitting there, my wife is sitting there, and it's crazy. My wife has become like a fanatic over Dalton Knecht.
I think I had a big red.
I mean, it's a shot.
I think I had a big red spot on my forehead from slapping my head after each miss.
It was like, no, don't let this happen. Don't let this happen. Please, don't let this happen. No.
I'm the president of his fan club. I know we talk about president of fan clubs, so I'm going to put myself as the president of Dalton's fan club. And I just see the benefits of what you have when he's out there and he's in a rhythm, which are things
we've never had a guy that actually make other teams game plan for us.
So dynamic and so explosive at that times. I know the poor man's Klay Thompson has already been thrown around there, obviously without the defense at this time. But the fact that he's just so explosive and can give you that, I think it's just an option and a thing in the offense that you just don't normally have. And that's just my opinion. So.
Well, I think that when Rui comes back, maybe we'll see a little bit of Dalton at the 2 with Rui at the 3, because Rui can move his feet, and he's pretty good at sliding around out there defensively. So he might be able to make up for a little bit of the slow feet that Dalton has as far as on the defensive end. So that would be an interesting lineup to see, and I'm hoping we'll see it tonight, maybe with Reeves and Dalton, Rui, and AD and LeBron all on the court at the same time. I would like to see what that looks like.
I think we'll see. I think we'll get a lot of opportunity over the next few games to see the backcourt be a Rui and Dalton backcourt. A Reeves and Dalton backcourt.
Yeah, because Rui's important from a size standpoint. He really is. And
Rui basically should be. I see Rui as eventually being replaced by a second center, somebody bigger than him.
Well, it'd have to be somebody that he's
elite. It has to be an elite rim protector.
Yeah. He's not a small guy. He's 6'8" with a 7'2" wingspan, and
but he's gotten a lot better at not disappearing on offense, but he still disappears too much on defense.
Not really. Not this year. He's been pretty good this year, and he's been called out in most of the for his defense by the coaching staff. So, and he's rebounding this year, where he wasn't a reliable rebounder. He's got over 6 games.
He'll survive as a starter then in front of.
Oh yeah. I don't see us bringing in another center to start with AD. I'm thinking they're going to be looking for somebody to back him up because.
Well,
AD,
the odds of that are higher simply because
when during the Olympics,
draft capital to get somebody who's a starter.
Yeah, during the Olympics, Bam was paired with AD. AD played center because he's a better defensive center. He's arguably, I think, the best defensive center in the NBA. And even
I don't think they want him to play center. They don't want him to play center. He doesn't want to.
No, you don't want him to play center. The coaching staff has every year plays him at center. I mean, because he's so
the front office never gives him any alternative.
Except him in the championship year, he didn't have to play center as much, except when it came to crunch time.
But he played probably half the game at center that year.
That's what I'm saying. The options of having somebody to pair alongside that has size and bulk would help a lot of things, especially the offensive rebounding issues that they kept giving up so many, as we saw. That was part of the reason why the Lakers lost, was the rebounding issues. They got killed on the boards. But
statistically, even Wood as the second big was always a huge plus, even though he couldn't shoot his way out of a paper
I'm waiting for that vengeance tour from Wood, but it never gets started. From Arthur with the super chat, do the Lakers have the right to insist AD wears goggles? He's the $43 million investment, and it's just a matter of time before he gets poked again. He has been poked twice this calendar year, guys.
Yeah. They won't demand that. They would not have demanded it of Kobe or of anybody else. I don't see that happening.
Thank you again for the super chat. Mike, do you have any thoughts for that as well?
On goggles for AD?
Yes.
I mean, he says they fog up. That's why he doesn't like him. You think with the technology available, maybe that somebody could come up with a fog-free goggles.
You ever worn goggles or the simplest example I could give you is, for anybody who played basketball and then went out and played football, wearing that helmet totally changed everything about the game of football. I could understand. I'm amazed at the guys who have been able to wear goggles and not have it affect their game.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think they have the right to say.
Well, they're not going to. They wouldn't offend him by. I don't think it'd ever reach a.
No, have to be a decision. It's going to have to be a decision he makes if he continues this. And I mean, that's what happened with James Worthy. He didn't just switch to goggles immediately. He kept getting hit in the eye, and eventually
he tried several different variations of.
Yeah, and he eventually
decided upon his.
Yeah, he eventually said, "Okay, enough of this. I'm going to be like Kareem, and I'm going to wear goggles too."
So before we head on out, guys, I want to go ahead and touch on tonight's game. It is, of course, the Lakerholics crew, Michael Heinrich and Laker Tom. Please go ahead and catch what they do each and every day at Lakerholics.com, a great site to go ahead and interact with other Lakers fans, plus great articles and more. Also, as well, you get to see Michael play Switzerland each and every day between the actions of Laker Tom and Jamie Sweet at Lakerholics.com.
The truth of the matter is that 90% of the time, Gerald and I agree. 90% of the time, Jamie and I agree. 95% of the time, Michael and I agree.
But then there's that 10% that
90% of the blog deals with that 5 and 10% that we don't agree.
And there's that 10% where Jamie tries to go ahead and intentionally push your buttons because he likes to do that. But
well, I'm always eager for anybody who wants to push my buttons.
I'm not. I'm just telling you like it is. It still upsets you at times. So I'm trying to get out of here without you yelling at me for once. But before we head on out, it is the Denver Nuggets coming in tonight against the Los Angeles Lakers. The Denver Nuggets are playing on a back-to-back, and this
4-point favorites are the Lakers.
Yes, that was something somebody asked me about the line on that. And they said it was too early to tell, but it is 4 points as of now. I think because of the back-to-back, Jokic is back in the lineup. Everyone, he did welcome a child, so congratulations to him. Him and his partner had a child earlier this week, so he's back in the lineup. He was back last night, so sorry, Joe. He is back for this game, but they will be tired.
Always make the Lakers game.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, there was no doubt. I had no doubt in my mind that was going to happen. But when it comes right down to – go ahead, Michael.
The good news is that the Laker killer, Eric Gordon, isn't playing.
Mhm.
I mean, people think it's the Joker. No, it's Eric Gordon is the reason why we've been losing to this team over and over again.
So many dunks off of the corner.
I mean, he all of a sudden he turns into a 70% 3-point shooter when he plays us. We just add juice to his game or whatever. I mean, he kills us.
Well, it's Rui. He's Rui's guy. That's why he.
No. He's LeBron's guy. Rui. Michael Porter is Rui's guy. But yeah, he destroys us, and he's not playing. So I think we have a good chance of winning.
Well, again, also the back-to-back deal. I'm hoping that the fatigue will set in because that usually happens for teams when they go pay their Denver to LA back-to-back or LA.
They check in at the hotel.
But it's always that one because that is one of the farthest.
And they shot terrible. They shot terrible last night. They're going to be red hot tonight. Come on.
That could be true. So
they're the underdogs. They're red hot. They'll be red hot tonight.
But
well,
for the Lakers,
I mean, Russell Westbrook isn't going to go 4 for 4 or 4 for 5 from 3 or whatever he did. He gets one of those games every year and a half. So I don't expect him to lighten up from distance like he did last night.
No, but it's awful hard for our two guards, either of our two guards, to stay in front of anybody, man. We have a problem.
He doesn't shoot off emotion. He shoots.
I'm worried about him getting by. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
But
I will sit outside as many as he wants.
Oh, but with that, again, it is of course Denver and LA. LA needs this victory to stay.
So what's your prediction, Gerald?
I think the Lakers are going to win this because, again, the bad taste in their mouth from the Orlando loss. I think that you usually see a team that's motivated to try.
Could help us.
That loss stings because right now, if they'd have won that game and they win tonight, that would put them right there.
Who's the next game after this game?
Suns.
The Suns.
Okay, we win those 2 games. I've heard somebody on X came back and said, okay, win those 2 games, and I forgive the Lakers for blowing the Magic game. So I'm stand behind that too. The Magic game is one that you lose every so often.
I think AD is going to. He's been motivated all year, but I think he's going to take that motivation up a notch because of all
this is our arch nemesis.
Yeah. Plus, he missed those free throws down the stretch, so he's going to take
all 3 of our stars choked out on the free throw line.
Yeah, so he's going to be super motivated to step up, and he always is against the Joker, and he generally has a good game against
Lakers by 20.
Well, again,
that's what happened.
Well, Darren, again, we've always mentioned on this show, Joe, myself, talked about LeBron's defense being soft. We all know he takes plays off on defense, and it does cost you on the defensive end. But then again, he takes
quarters off. Doesn't take plays off, man. Sometimes he takes quarters off.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very.
But when he plays, the truth of the matter is that when he plays, he's probably the second best defender we got on the team.
When he's locked in, he's still good.
When he does that really turn back the clock, because so when somebody either talks smack to him, like a John Morant, or he gets like a foul call on him on the other end. Then he gets all excited. Then he gets all up in everybody's face and defense and all that stuff. And then he starts turning back the clock like he's young LeBron for like that 1 or 2 plays because he's all mad. When he's mad, he does that.
Yeah, but us old guys keep doing that until Father Time kicks us in the butt.
Well, yeah, and then there's the other 38, 40, 50 possessions where he takes those off.
He plays good defense down the stretch in fourth quarters.
Yeah. He generally does.
Only when he has to. But again, he leaves so many plays undone. I understand Darren's frustrations with that, but he is having the most efficient season of his entire career. And due to the metrics, it was I heard this the other day, he is in the top 10 in the metrics, both him and AD, which is the reason why the Lakers are, or a big reason why the Lakers are where they're at, guys, is because in the metrics, they have 2 top 10 MVP candidates right now on the offensive end because they're doing so many good things. LeBron is so efficient. Even though he's going to the basket less, Tom, he is shooting so much more efficiently. I posed this question to Joe the other day, and I understand. I don't want the GOAT debate, guys, because, again, That's a big, huge debate on another day for another time, and it never gets solved. But what if LeBron had found this efficiency in his game from outside earlier on in his career, Tom? Because he is just doing such a great job at shooting right now from the outside.
It's really remarkable, and in many ways, what he reminds me of, although the athleticism and the style of shot that he shoots is so much more efficient, but he reminds me of the guys that have learned to shoot as their career progressed, and it's generally been a trade-off for athleticism.
Yeah.
Whether it was Magic Johnson or Jason Kidd, or even centers like Brook Lopez, that all of a sudden after 10 years became a shooter for the next 5 or 6 years. I want to get back to the question. You skipped me on the second half of the Olivari question.
Sorry. Okay. My apologies.
So one of the things that has really impressed me is that the coach's attitude toward taking 3-point shots really affects the entire team's approach to shooting threes, their confidence in shooting threes, their ability to shoot multiple times in a game of threes or to keep shooting if they miss. The one man who has always been the best supporter of 3-point shooters in history was 7 seconds or less, and he always knew that he would never criticize his players for shooting. They had a green light. Every guy who went on the court had a green light. Well, JJ doesn't necessarily give every guy on the court a green light, but there's nobody who hasn't taken a 3-point shot now that I think about it. Hayes has taken one. I saw Koloko take one. And it's interesting that Olivari, I understand all of the criticism for the stats from the G League, but what impressed me about Olivari was his play, in the summer league. When he put him in, every time you put that guy in a game, he scores and he plays aggressive, assertive defense. One of the things that's really important about the Lakers this season was drafting Knecht. The hiring of JJ will be the move of the year. The drafting of Knecht is going to be really a second place thing. And if they really have a star, a guy who could be an elite backup point guard in Olivari, I think the kid should get minutes. So, I share your disappointment in JJ's response on that. I think that his support of Gabe is one that is supporting his defense and supporting the fact that he's going to be probably our main trade prospect. But tonight's game against Denver, to me, is a revenge game. I think that everybody on this team is sick and tired of Mike Malone and his whole cadre of
Michael Malone. Sorry.
I think that last year, if we were healthy, we would have won that series. Because
I was just saying though, but it's Michael Malone. He likes to be called now Michael Malone.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. So I'm thinking that we should have won last year. We were hurt. They weren't. Every game was so close that Vanderbilt,
except for the fourth quarter of every game,
Vanderbilt could have swung it with a couple of points here, stops here or there. It was so close. So I think that we're a better team now than they are. One other thing about LeBron, everybody,
all of our size is hurt is our problem. Though. Our size is hurt.
Yeah. The thing about LeBron, everybody's, he used to be a strong two-way player. But when you look at the offense, the scorers in this league, how many are two-way players? I mean, there's very few two-way players. There's a couple, but not a lot. Most of them are offensive minded. So, I think LeBron gets a lot of heat for being soft on his defensive side because he used to be so good. But your top scorers, your top offensive guys, for the most part, for most of the league, aren't that good at defenders either. They bring it all on the offense, and they kind of disappear on the defensive end.
Okay.
Rui's a 17 point per game scorer. If they put Knecht in the starting lineup, he'll be a 25 point per game scorer. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, but you're not going to replace Rui with Knecht. They're going to you'll replace Cam with Knecht because Rui.
I think that's the correct move. I think Knecht's position is shooting guard.
Well, it is. He's not big enough to be, to go against.
Big enough to be a small.
I mean, looked at him last night. I mean, he tried his best, but he got overwhelmed by size.
Yeah.
I think so, Sam, because the simple fact is there's no Jackson Hayes in the lineup right now.
Jackson going to go tonight? Have we heard anything?
He is still been out longer because he is out another.
He's got the high ankle sprain.
Yeah. So he is out at least another week. I think it would be expected on that.
But I thought they said they were hoping Rui
was going to come back first, and then it was going to be Hayes at a later period. So that's
the
good news is this week, and that Saturday is this week.
The good news is there's nobody behind the Joker that's anybody to worry about at the center position. So Koloko will be just fine.
But I also think Rui, Sam is insinuating, since there is a body of work, he'll probably get some looks against Jokic as well tonight. I do think that.
Oh yeah, they'll switch on to him like they want
AD to roam free to be able.
Even if AD is out there, they'll have some possessions with Rui on him. Rui's a strong dude, man.
Yeah. Well, you don't want AD to get in foul trouble, man. If AD gets in foul trouble,
then we're screwed.
Eat up the loco.
You can put when the Joker is beyond the at least beyond the free throw line, you can stick Rui there because it takes him so long to back Rui down because Rui holds his ground. So you're going to see that. I think you'll see. I don't know if you'll see him out there alone against him with AD on the bench, but you'll see him guarding.
Regardless of whom we guard him primarily with, I think that we're inevitably forced to double team a player. Like you cannot guard guys like Jokic and he's just too hard to guard single. You're gonna have to rotate. You're gonna have to learn to pre-rotate and to make smart switches and just to make sure that you don't let him kill you.
We'll have to see how Jamal Murray does. He hasn't been having. I think he's
in a real slump.
He's overpaid. He's never. I don't think he's ever been worth a max contract ever, to tell you the truth. I mean, he's a solid, good player. He's a $30 million player, but I don't think he's a $50 million player.
Just wanted to go ahead and check in with everybody. Anthony Davis with his plantar fasciitis is probable for the game. He's probably going to play today. Jackson Hayes, Bronny James, Quincy Olivari, Jared Vanderbilt, and Christian Wood, who was stationary shooting. I just saw earlier today on shoot around. So he is getting a little bit closer. He's doing some standing shots. All those guys are out for tonight. So no Quincy, even if we wanted to, guys. So he has the right.
Is there something unique about Jackson Hayes having a dot in front of his name?
No, that's just separating.
Or did they just forget to put the dots in front of all of the other guys' names?
That's just separating between the ones that are out and the one that is probable. So, I don't think there's anything but by that dot other than just separating the ones that are out. So Jackson Hayes, Bronny James, Quincy Olivari, Jared Vanderbilt, and Christian Wood are out for tonight's game against Denver. So there you guys have it as far as that's concerned. Rui is back in the lineup. Guys, again, I still have my concerns. I just feel that
the one thing that JJ
he needs his touches, Tom. Tom, you know best. As a shooter, he needs his touches.
Yeah, but JJ said that regardless of what happens today, he's not made a permanent decision as to whether Dalton Knecht will remain a starter long term. So I think he recognizes that, and I think that this is. I think that he's taking care of Rui. He wants to give Rui's an existing starter. I don't think he wants to be known as a guy makes quick changes and
well,
so forth.
Him being a player and a recent player. I understand that he knows about the old traditions where you don't take out the veteran.
Man, we need Rui tonight. We need Rui to have a great game tonight.
We do need Rui to have a great game tonight, Michael and Tom. Michael, any last thoughts before we head out on tonight's game, or anything going on with the Lakers or the NBA, my friend?
What's your prediction?
Well, I think the Lakers win. I'm not going to put a point spread on it, but I think they win the game. Normally, I would say that with Gordon out, that we would have we would have a lot more offense, but we'll see what happens. I don't like Denver's second unit that much, and so they haven't solved the Joker resting puzzle yet. They fall apart whenever he's off the court. So we should make some hay while he's resting. So, the Lakers win. I'm not going to give a point spread, but the Lakers win.
Okay, fair enough, my friend. Laker Tom, your thoughts on tonight's game, and also what you and Michael are working on at Lakerholics.com.
I've been still focused on Robert Williams. I think that he's the
apple of his eye, apple of Laker Tom's eye, right there. There you go.
I think he's worth a gamble of a first round pick, and I hope the Lakers go for him. I think that tonight's game, it's really frustrating to think that your front office sometimes thinks that your roster is not worth investing 2 picks in. And at other times they think that they're too good to invest 2 picks in. And this sort of schizophrenia that always seems to support doing nothing, doing the Jamie Sweet, let's not trade anybody, and, type of situation. We have to make a trade. So I think there's going to be a trade, because we need a consolidation trade. We have too many one-way players, and we need to trade out 4 of those one-way players for a pair of two-way players. And whether they happen to be $12 million players or $2 million players, we have to make some sort of move, because we've got valuable players that are two-way players that probably are going to need to be part of the rotation down the road. And if player development is important, we can't leave all of these places that we've got locked up with the JHSs and Lewises who are basically players that have just got to be tossed in the next 2 trades that we make, because nobody's going to really trade for them, and they're just holding spots and clogging up our entire roster. This is a vengeance game tonight, and I think we're going to win by 20.
Is it scary JHS is not even on the injured report, because he's not been playing in South Bay, and he's not been playing for the Lakers? He's not been suiting up, and it's kind of scary that he hasn't been in the injury. Maybe he'll suit up tonight, but kind of been scary that he hasn't even been on the injury report for the Lakers.
Well, he was there earlier. I don't know what the deal is lately, but he was on the injury report earlier.
I know, and it just kind of faded off. But I didn't see him in I looked at the G.
I guess he's going to be able to play tonight then, huh?
Yeah, maybe he'll suit up, but we'll see. Michael, are you working on anything for Lakerholics.com outside of fending off the fights between Laker Tom?
Well, actually, I've been having some issues signing into Lakerholics.com. But yeah, I'll have something up probably after this game. I was going to write something after last game, and I was having issues, and then I just let it go.
When is our next game? When's our next game? We play the Suns.
Phoenix.
I think Tuesday. The Suns.
Tuesday.
Okay. Durant may or may not play.
Of course he'll play. Of course he'll play. Of course he'll play. That's never a doubt against the Lakers. They always get healthy against the Lakers. So.
Yeah, it's usually the case. Something that's funny though. I mean, we're a bad matchup for Phoenix. I mean, we beat them the first time. The second time we gave them the game away. And they were fully healthy.
-2 on giveaways this year.
Yeah. They were fully healthy. So, Yeah, we're not, we're not a good matchup for them. They have no answer for AD. I mean, what's his name? What's the guy's name? Jurkic?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, AD destroys him. He might as well.
It's like Jonas. Every time we play one of those two guys, we play them off of the court.
Yeah. So
we play them totally off of the court, and why should we even be considering Jonas as one of our options?
Probably price tag, I would imagine.
$10 million.
Oh, well, that would $10
million in a handful of seconds.
Well, $10 million. It is for next. It is for 3 years. So would you trade that for Gabe's $10 million in 2 years? That's the problem, because Gabe's, everybody that attaches Gabe, like Tom, you got to remember, that's that extra year of $10 million for 3 points a game that you're getting. And that's such a big detraction without attaching picks to it. That's the thing. At least with D'Lo, if you look to trade him and JHS, that's 22 million.
If we give a pick for Jonas, I will. If we give up a pick for Jonas, I will. Oh,
well, I'm just going to
say a ticket to it.
Tom, you're at a point where don't get too upset. I don't want Mrs. Laker Tom to get all upset now, because you're I don't want your cause of death to be Jonas Valanciunas. Absolutely. That would not be
I
good.
really don't have anything against Jonas. He's an okay guy, but for God's sakes, just stay away from the Lakers.
But we'll find out. Michael, it's been so great to talk to you. Laker Tom as well. I got out of this unscathed. I'm actually pretty happy about
come
that.
On.
There you go. Well, you got to call me an idiot or something one time. That's usually the case. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break.
You're an MFN pod father.
There you go. Absolutely. I'll take that, a podcaster indeed. But it is, of course, Lakerholics.com. Please be a part of what they're doing each and every day at Lakerholics.com. Michael is such a great part of them, trying to negotiate and weave his way around while putting his 2 cents in there about the Lakers with Laker Tom, putting his great opinion and great trade proposals that are there. Also catch Laker Tom at Laker Tom on Twitter. He loves starting Twitter fights there, as I've seen from time to time with his trade proposals. Or sometimes he doesn't even make the trade proposals. Sometimes he retweets the trade proposals that he likes. And even
I retweet trade proposals that I don't like too.
Yes, that's true. Okay, that's true as well. There you go. Good, granted. But it's the ones that you do like, I think, that gets
they really need to have a down button on that application. I don't understand that.
Don't even get me started on Twitter. We'll just leave it at that. But once again, I do like the memes though at times from Twitter. But once again, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Truly,
you don't want to make you make the guy richer. I mean, Elon's rich enough now. I mean, he's
that's like another story.
I got a whole bunch of friends that basically have abandoned it because
I'm on Blue Sky.
They won't buy a Tesla. They won't buy a Tesla, and they won't go on X because they think that they're hurting Elon Musk.
Tesla was rated the car that caused the most deaths last year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So leave it at that. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. The Lakers, again, are playing tonight against the Denver Nuggets. Please join us, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. And then also after the game, the post game, Joe will be here. Don't worry, guys. You'll have your full fix of Joe Soro tonight. As far as the post game, a nightcap, we'll talk about. It'll probably be there on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate it. What's up, BTS? Thank you, Darren. Thank you, everybody, for being part of the show. But also, don't forget Lakerholics.com. Please support them. Be a part of the Lakers community that is Lakerholics.com. So for Michael Heinrich, Laker Tom, it's Gerald Glassford. Always got to get a shot. Tell him that later, BTS. Tell him that later so he can yell at you tonight, Joe can. Yes, don't do it while he's not here. Do it while he's here, BTS, so Joe can yell at you then. But once again, it is Lakerholics.com. Please go ahead and support them today. Guys, it's been a great time. Truly appreciate you being part of a great Lakers weekend right here at Lakers Fast Break Podcast. And for everyone out there, stay safe. Enjoy the Lakers game tonight with us. And Aloha.
Aloha.